Counter-Strike. America's game. Played best by the Europeans. It's one of PC gaming's most beloved franchises, focused on precision, strategy, and gambling. And cheating. The latest release, Counter-Strike 2, is going through one of the biggest cheater epidemics the game has ever seen in its 20-year history.
Counter-Strike 2 is infested with cheaters.
It is official, I quit.
I'm done with Premiere. I think we came across cheaters almost every game.
Seeing many content creators quit the game or flock to other greener pastures for now, including Valorant, Counter-Strike's biggest copycat. When that game came out and did pretty well, Counter-Strike actually adapted some features into their game from Valorant, showing that competition is good. So naturally, this got me thinking, Star Wars? About a month ago, EA laid off hundreds of people and canceled multiple games. I know, it's completely shocking, right? EA stated that they thought that people just weren't interested in this type of game, investing more into games like Madden. And I'm sitting here wondering, where's the Star Wars tactical shooter? There's just never really been one. I mean, we made a video on the Movie Battles 2 mod for Jedi Academy. That's about the closest you can get, and that's unofficial. What I'm here to say is that Star Wars has more than enough material to work with in terms of weapon loadout, armor, shields, grenades, utilities, map locations. Hell, you even got multiple options for the bomb. In this video, I've theory crafted an entire Star Wars Counter-Strike type game using the lore and a little bit of innovation. Will this game ever be made? Absolutely not. But it's fun to dream and put the idea out into the aether. Life finds a way. Before we begin, subscribe if you're smelling what I'm stepping in. First off, we gotta name our game Elite Forces. These two words show up in Star Wars a lot, and SWEF is fun to say. That's pretty important. Anyone down for some SWEF?
That's gonna be rough, pal. That's one.
General, count me in.
I'm with you too.
Then we have to decide the primary game mode, bomb defusal. 5 versus 5 teams where terrorists plant the bomb and counter-terrorists defuse it. This mode plays in a series of 2-minute rounds where each player has 1 life only and spends cash on equipment that only carries forward if you survive the round, meaning playing strategically and communicating with your team is crucial. At halftime, both teams swap sides, and the first team to win 13 rounds wins the game. It's a fine-tuned formula informed by 2 decades of experience by Valve and the CS community, and it's the game mode we are stealing today. And now for the factions, traitors and counter-traitors.
Traitor!
But nah, we got the Rebel Alliance and Galactic Empire, who pretty much are the same as freedom-fighting terrorists versus the state-funded counter-terrorists. With the Alliance side, we're gonna have Spec Force. They were a branch of the Alliance military, specifically selected for high skill, morale, bravery, and dedication to the Rebel cause. And they were led by General Crix Madine. It's this guy from Return of the Jedi. And Kyle Katarn saved him in Dark Forces. Elite Forces. Crix Madine was an Imperial Army officer who defected to the Rebel Alliance. But before he led Spec Force on certain missions, like the attack on the Death Star 2's shield generator, he was actually the notorious leader of the Imperial Storm Commandos. Considered an elite unit within the Imperial military, they operated within small forces, elite forces, with an emphasis on stealth, and generally just kind of look like scout troopers with darker armor, which I think is a badass default skin for these guys. So here they are, the 2 factions, Spec Force versus Commandos. But everyone's still just gonna call them T versus CT, which is totally fine. The bomb. This can be one of many different types of explosives, like the proton charges used in Return of the Jedi, but I'm going with something a little more fun. The seismic bomb used by Jango Fett in Attack of the Clones. It's just a satisfying sound, with a preceding moment of silence for any Imperials who failed to defuse the bomb in time. Money. I'm just calling it credits. Republic credits will do fine.
Yes, they will!
What's next? Armor. In CS, armor and head armor aren't actually visible, they're just implied, and we can do the same in our game, but I'm gonna add a new utility to purchase as well, the Personal Energy Shield. This would provide additional protection against blasters, but not slug thrower weapons, the guns in Star Wars that fire actual bullets. Up next are melee weapons.
You wanna go for a jog, man? We can go for a jog.
Okay, but what are you doing with a knife?
What do you mean? Run fast with a knife. Everyone runs faster with a knife.
Everyone gets a knife, and you can one-shot enemies from behind if you're sneaky enough.
What the?
There are also knives in Star Wars, but there are many other unique melee weapon skins we can throw in there too. Vibro axes, vibro blades, knuckle blades, daggers, Sith swords, stun batons, Rick blades, gaffy sticks, force pikes, stun gauntlets, just to name a few. And then we got the one-shot taser at close range, the Zeus. For this one, I just went to Wikipedia and typed stun gun, and there it is, stun gun. And these were used by spies, commandos, and agents, so it fits perfectly. Let's talk about ammo and hit scan. I know a lot of Star Wars games act on this infinite ammo or overheating mechanic, but actually, blasters do have ammo. They run off of cells containing Tabana gas, most notably mined from planets like Bespin. There are also different types and rarities of Tabana gases, which we can easily equate to calibers of ammo, but that's all lore flavor. Blasters in Elite Forces will be hit scan, this game that will never fucking exist. Hit scan means where you click is where your shot immediately hits.
So what you see is what you get.
I know in the movies and video games that blasters usually have a visible travel speed, and while that's more important in games with huge maps or to have cinematic effect, our game will have relatively small maps, so hit scan makes sense to make the gameplay feel snappier. In the meantime, we can make bullet tracers the color of the blaster bolts. Now we're into the meat and potatoes. The weapons.
Hokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid.
I'm gonna go through the entire Counter-Strike loadout and find an adequate replacement that's fitting within the Star Wars universe. Now, if a game like this was made, I'm sure it wouldn't be a one-for-one replacement for everything, but it's a good baseline to go off of to prove that there's enough to work with. Let's begin with the starter pistols. The T-side Glock 18. For this one, I'm gonna go with the Defender Blaster Pistol. Princess Leia can be seen using this on the Tantive 4 in A New Hope. Usually used by nobility for small game hunting, self-defense, or honor duels, it became a standard sidearm for the Rebel Alliance moving forward.
I love you.
I know.
And even though the T-side doesn't have a second starting pistol, I'm giving the Rebels another one. The Soro Sub ELG-3A. It shoots green lasers. This is a pistol used by the Royal Naboo Security Force in The Phantom Menace. And you can even detach the barrel and it would resemble a different pistol, for some reason that's called the Marson Q2. Star Wars lore is just mixed up as shit, but you could just include both of them in one. And then for the Imperial side, or CT side, we'll start with the P2000. We're going to go ahead and use the Blastech EC-17, which is usually used by scout troopers.
Freeze!
Also known as a scout pistol or flash pistol. This is a standard issue holdout pistol for the Empire. And for the second CT-sided pistol, the USPS, which is silenced, we have to first ask, are there silenced weapons in Star Wars? From the Wizards of the Coast tabletop RPG, there's a DC-19 stealth carbine. It comes equipped with a silencer, and it even refines the Tabana gas in the blaster to make the bolts invisible to the naked eye. So we're going to take the Blastech DC-17 pistol and say it has the same stealth attachment on it. If we look at Fordo's clone trooper pistols, it pretty much looks like a silenced DC-17, so we're going to go ahead and use that in place for the USPS. Moving along, we have three pistols shared by both teams. First, the P250, a pretty good pistol for a low price. We're going to go with the Blastech DH-17. Designed for short-range combat, it was widely considered to be a workhorse of a pistol. It had unmatched popularity and staying power, which is why it was used by both the Imperial Navy and Alliance soldiers. Dual Berettas. This is a no-brainer. It's Jango Fett's dual Wester 34s. They were designed for brief but intense surprise attacks at close range, and were able to withstand continuous fire, raising it to temperatures that would melt most ordinary blasters. This is thanks to the silver DeLorean alloy that was used to make it. I don't know if they just called it that because a Mandalorian used it. It's a DeLorean alloy. Whatever. For the CZ75 Auto, we're going to go with the SE14A. Moving on to the next tier of exclusive sighted guns, we got the T-sighted Tech 9, which we're replacing with the Briar Blaster pistol, most famously used by Kyle Katarn in the Jedi Knight series. Very precise, although a bit weak, but it does have the unique ability to do a charge attack at the expense of extra ammo. I think this is really good to replace the Tech 9 because that gun is usually used as a quick entry headshot machine, having good running accuracy on the first shot. So the Briar pistol could serve the same function, charging up a shot, running in, and plugging someone in the head. On the CT side is the 5.7. This one's another layup thanks to the prequels with the DT57 Heavy Blaster pistol. It was used by Mr. Grievous, and it literally has 5.7 in the name.
So uncivilized.
Replacing the R8 revolver is going to be the DT29. It's basically a revolver pistol. It's from the canon, and I think director Krennic used one. And finally, replacing the Desert Eagle with the famous Blastech DL44. It's one of the most powerful blasters in the galaxy. We can definitely say a bolt from this gun will always kill to the head, just like the Deagle. Moving on to SMGs and carbines, let's look at the T-sighted MAC-10. We're going to go with another Naboo Royal Forces gun, the CR2 Heavy Repeating Pistol. The CR2 Heavy Repeating Pistol. And on the CT side with the MP9, it's going to be the Sorosub Fire Lance. This goes all the way back to the West End Games tabletop RPG. It even has a little carry handle that makes it look like the FAMAS. Replacing the UMP-45 is going to be the ACP Repeater, also known as a Trandoshan Chopper or Grinder. This is used by a lot of thugs. It's a medium-range, fully automatic blaster, and it cuts through shields really quick. Replacing the PP Bison, we're going with the Blastech EE3, most notably Boba Fett's carbine, and it's one of Blastech's most popular non-military weapons. Literally, I just didn't know where else to put this blaster, and they both have kind of a weird shape to them, so there you go. Coming up with the silenced MP5, we're going to use that silenced clone carbine we mentioned before, the DC-19 Stealth. For the MP7, we're going to go with the weapon from the Clone Wars TV show, the Galar 15. It's a Mandalorian heavy blaster carbine that frequently showed up on black markets. It became instantly popular with bounty hunters and other professional killers. And finally, the P90, which is the best submachine gun in Counter-Strike. We're going to go with the TL50 Heavy Repeater. This is a model of heavy repeating blaster rifle made for the special forces in the Empire. This weapon is most known for its oppressive storm of blaster bolts that it can unleash, but also its alternate fire, which lobbed a concussive blast. Moving on to heavy weapons, let's start with the shotguns. For the Nova, we're going with the Trandoshan Scatter Gun. It's a slug thrower, meaning it shoots bullets and can go through personal shields in our game. And for the XM
semi-automatic
shotgun, we're going with the Golan Arms FC1 Flechette Launcher. It's a semi-automatic gun that fires canisters of metal flechettes, effective at close range with high armor penetration. Moving on to T-sighted and CT-sighted shotguns, we're giving Rebels the CA-87. It's basically a modified Jawa rifle, which is normally used to disable droids. But in classic terrorist rebel fashion, it's modified to shoot blaster cartridges, which definitely gives me sawed-off shotgun vibes. And on the Imperial side, replacing the Mag 7 shotgun is the Blastech EE4. It's essentially a blaster shotgun. Moving on to the light machine guns, we got the Negev that we're going to replace with the RT-97C. This is mainly seen being used by Imperial sand troopers.
Someone was in the pod.
And it's even based on the MG-15 machine gun. And for the outrageously overpriced M249, we're gonna go with the badass Merson Z6 chain gun. This is a chain gun mainly used by the Grand Army during the Clone Wars, and yeah, it's a chain gun. To cap off the heavy guns, I'm actually going to add 2 more blasters, both Rebel and Imperial sighted. With Rebels, we're giving them the Wookiee Bowcaster, which is a powerful semi-automatic weapon, but it also has an alternate fire mode to shoot in vertical or horizontal lines, which could add an interesting wrinkle to the gameplay of breaching a site, just running in and shooting a horizontal line, and maybe you get a multi-kill, who knows, but it will be a bit expensive. And on the Imperial side of things, I'm going to give them the T-21 Light Repeating Blaster. It's an automatic rifle with a slow fire rate, but extremely high damage and armor penetration, and is generally one of the cooler guns in all of Star Wars, and I couldn't fit it in anywhere else. So, here it is, a new heavy gun. Now on to the fun stuff, the rifles. Replacing the starting T-side rifle, the Galil, is going to be the Relby V10. This blaster was used by Bausk. Replacing the FAMAS is the Bactoid E5. This is the blaster rifle you see every battle droid using. Pretty much the precursor to the E11.
Roger, roger.
Get their weapons.
Oh, this is the guy's bomb bag.
On to the big boys, the full buy guns. My beloved AK-47. This is a can of space worms I'm about to open. So there's this gun in Book of Boba in The Mandalorian called the KA-74. Haha, very funny. Also called the Frontiersman in some concept art. But this gun was actually based off of a gun more close to the PP Bison, which is like a baby AK. The KA-47 is a cool looking gun, but it doesn't exactly fit what we want. But in Andor Episode 4, there's this blaster, which looks pretty much like an AK-47 exactly. A lot of people lost their mind over this because it wasn't Star Warsy enough, meaning it didn't have other random shit glued onto it, but I have a correct judgment on this. You know how most blasters are basically old war weapons? This site shows that the blaster's made from an AKMS and an MP40. The AKMS came out in 1959, and the MP40 is a German World War II submachine gun. And upon closer inspection of this gun and different screenshots, it's actually very Star Wars looking. This gun actually works perfect for our AK-47. It has the magazine, the stock is a bit different looking than just the wooden stock. So yeah, we're gonna use whatever this blaster is. It actually doesn't have a name, but for the love of God, we're not calling it the KA-74. We'll just have to give it a new name for now. There's actually a blaster company called Arakid. They're the ones who made Zam Wessel's pistol. And then like 80% of the blasters in Star Wars are letter double number, so we're going with the Arakid K-47. Done. Can of worms closed. Now when it comes to replacing the two M4s on CT's side, there are two rifles very similar to each other that fit these categories perfectly. It's the DC-15 rifle and E11 blaster rifle. And shoutouts to the like 10 Star Wars fans who know that these things on these blasters are actually folding stocks. They just never use them, I don't know why. So boom, you fold the stocks and then you get two M4-ish rifles, I don't know. For the M4A1S, we're gonna take the DC-15 clone rifle. No, not the gigantic one, the normal one. The one you see all the clone troopers killing them younglings with, but with the silencer. And then for the M4A4 is going to be the E11 Stormtrooper blaster rifle. Standard issue medium blaster rifle. It's versatile, lightweight, and totally works. Moving along, we have the scoped assault rifles. With the T side, we have the SG-553, which we're going to replace with the very iconic Blastech A280. Rebel forces can be seen using this on the Battle of Hoth and Empire Strikes Back. It's based on this gun from World War II. Don't ask me how to say it. For the Imperial side, replacing the CT's AUG, this is going to be the Wester M5. The M5 was used by cloned commandos during the Clone Wars. It had a scope, it also included an underbarrel grenade launcher, and it has high armor penetration. Moving on to the sniper rifles, the SSG, also known as the Scout. This is a lightweight sniper rifle, always kills on headshot. We're replacing this with the Cycler rifle. There's actually a number of sniper rifles that could replace this, like the Merson LD1, but the Cycler rifle's just too iconic, so we're going with that. Also, it being a slug thrower rifle will make it an affordable counter to somebody who buys personal shields. And now replacing the sniper rifle, the AWP. One shots to any part of the body that's not the legs. There are actually quite a few sniper rifles that could fit this position. There's the DLT-19X, the NT-242, But I'm going to pick something very Star Warsy and unique to our game, the 10-LOS Disruptor Rifle. This rifle is highly illegal for its disintegrating properties, vaporizing its target at the molecular level on hit, leaving the target in a smoking pile of ash where they used to be. Yes, disintegrations. Am I right, fellas? It looks like an SNES Super Scope, or this design right here. Honestly, we could just come up with a totally unique design, but here it is, the Super Scope. And finally, the auto snipers. For the T-sided G3SG1, we're gonna go with the Rebels DLT-20A. This is a long blaster actually used more by the Empire in a lot of cases, but in a lot of games it's seen being used by rebels or even bounty hunters. And finally, to replace the CT's auto sniper, the SCAR 20, we're going with the Vulcan 38X. Most notably, this blaster is held by Dengar, and it shows up in the Battlefront games. I honestly just picked it because it was word 2 numbers and was an auto sniper. And there we have it. Here's the loadout for Elite Forces. I wasted my time doing this. As we start to wrap things up here, I'm gonna move on to utility. In Counter-Strike, there are smoke grenades, flashbangs, frag grenades, and fire grenades. These all exist in Star Wars and could be copy-pasted over. But we're gonna add some other Star Warsy things here. Ion grenades. These are EMP-type grenades used by clone commandos. They could damage personal shields in a small radius and slightly disorient enemies. A seeker droid or a combat remote. These droids would start following whichever enemy walks by, kinda just making a lot of noise and being annoying and forcing your enemy to shoot it down and reveal their location. The final utility I'm adding, and there's a lot of shit in Star Wars, but I'm just adding a few. But this one is the one I wanted to add the most.
He's holding a thermal detonator!
This will be a very expensive grenade, disintegrating any organics caught inside. Is this overpowered? Yeah, but it's also very expensive. Maybe a thermal detonator catches everyone off guard and you get a 5 kill. As for maps, there's no shortage of locations in Star Wars. There's beautiful vistas, there's Tatooine, Hoth, Cloud City, literally anywhere. Scarif, nice beach. Maybe a cool bar on Coruscant or Nar Shaddaa, like an emptied out strip club. Yeah, the map makers could just go ham on that. So Star Wars Elite Forces. A game like this will 99% not happen, but I had fun theory crafting it. Should Respawn ever get a chance to work on their Star Wars shooter again, maybe they could pull a U-turn and make a tactical shooter, giving CS2 and Valorant some more competition. And I mean, when Valorant came out, Valve ended up adapting numerous things from that game into Counter-Strike, so competition is good. So yeah, a new competitor could definitely shake things up, and Star Wars has all of the lore to do so. And once again, thank you for watching. Let me know what you think, what you would add, how stupid am I, what's going on. Subscribe. Shoutouts to the Master Tier patrons, Aquarial, Heliomorpha, Jordan Rowe, The Avion 12, and Uninvited Haggis. If you support the channel through Patreon, you'll have access to the exclusive Discord, where you can get behind the scenes chatty chats with me. And yeah, I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.